Hello, kia ora and good day. My name is Craig Hickford and I have a severe traumatic brain injury. I'm 48 years old and I live with my wife Stacey and two gorgeous kids, Grace, 12 and Toby, 9. We also have our firstborn, Cully, a 15-year-old retriever lab cross. I am here today to talk with you about the severe traumatic brain injury I suffered on Valentine's Day 2016 and some of my experiences with therapists since then. I have learnt that no two TBIs are the same and everyone's expectations will be different, and I understand that is why I'm here to talk to you today. My accident occurred in the early evening of Valentine's Day in 2016 in Fairfield, Dunedin. I was returning from a 50-kilometre ride when I was hit by a four-wheel drive ute which turned into me without giving way. I was thrown 3 metres into the air and landed prone on my head some distance from the area of impact. I was in a bad way. Lucky to be alive. I sustained a serious bleed on the brain resulting in a severe TBI, a broken left shoulder, major grazing on the right side of my body, and a deep impact injury to my right thigh where the ute hit me. I was in Dunedin Hospital for 8 weeks. I was then transferred to the rehab centre, ISIS, in Wakaru Hospital for a further 12 weeks, where I continued to heal and recover and learn to do the basics of life all over again. For the first 3 weeks, I was in a hospital bed, lying still, unable to think, toilet, or feed myself, relying on tubes to sustain my breathing as the swelling on my brain reduced whilst being measured by a bolt in my head. I could not recall much about 13 to 15 weeks post-accident, which is when I began to make connections with my family, friends, doctors, nurses, and visitors who became essential to my existence at the time. Pre-accident, I was a primary school principal at Brockville School in Dunedin, a former basketball player and coach at National Basketball League level, a competitor in multi-sport events, and an active administrator in associations in my area. I felt cared for by my Dunedin and Christchurch therapy teams, but between them and I, we certainly had some challenging experiences. This is just a small sample of some of the things that didn't go so well. I can recall an early initial experience of going swimming at Moana Pool with my physio and struggling in the rehab pool to support myself float and just panicked in the water. I was a confident swimmer, ex-lifeguard, surfer, more than competent water skier, and a strong paddler, among many things, so a lack of confidence with water was a scary experience for me. I can recall at the time I saw myself as broken and could not achieve as much as a result. This was an initial realization of the effects of the TBI on me physically. I spent weekly sessions with the physio. The TBI meant I was paralyzed on my left side, working in the gym and being able to walk and use this side again. The focus was simple: getting the side working out of its paralyzed state, continually working on strength, range of movement, coordination, and my new friend, fatigue. This focus on my left side and balance is an ongoing focus for all gym work currently to this day I undertake. I decided to make a cup of tea one night for Stacey and I, my wife. I boiled the jug and upon boiling it, for some reason thought that I needed to check the temperature. So I decided to put my hand over the nozzle of the boiling jug. I can only think that seemed rather dumb, but at the time it made perfect sense to me. In October of 2016, I resigned from my role as principal at Brockville School. 8 months post-accident, it was one of the most frustrating days of my life. A school I had proudly led for 3 years and worked really hard to make it a great place for learning for its kaimahi and tamariki. I was in no state to share my appreciation for the kind words that were being shared. I was able to share a simple token speech at a farewell assembly, which I wrote with the help of my speech and language therapist. My kids and wife were there for the day with me. Even today, I feel emotional talking about it because it signaled the end of life as I knew it, and it was one that I loved. At the time of handing in my resignation, Stacey decided it would be best we move back to Christchurch to continue with my rehab and recovery. We settled in Christchurch into the house next door to Stacey's parents and have remained there since. I've felt assured living so close to Stacey's parents, and this has provided us with the support that is needed when things get tough and are a little dysfunctional. I've now been taught to think of it as the new normal. Upon my return to Christchurch, my speech and language therapist and neuropsychologist from Otago were retained, but I had a new physio and occupational therapist. I was taken to play some tennis by my OT. I did not know, nor did my OT know, my level of insight was not quite up to par at this stage. So I was taken to the court, told to stand on the court as the therapist hit the ball at me. This did not end well. I couldn't see the ball, let alone swing the racket, let alone run to position myself for the shot. I was once again embarrassed by this and severely knocked my confidence. I was then encouraged to go mountain biking on the road and then off the road by a therapist. I was scared, uncoordinated to ride effectively on the tracks and then on the road. The limitations of sight that I had, coordination, balance, decision making were all tied into this. 18 months into my rehab therapy, I was encouraged by a therapist to make contact with the Christchurch College of Education and meet the head of school and meet with the Ministry of Education around employment opportunities. At the time, I was excited by the idea, but yet again, my level of insight and the lack of my therapist's knowledge of my insight, I was pretty much made to look like an idiot. There was no way I was anywhere near ready to contemplate working at any level. Once again, I was made to feel useless, unsupported, and not understood. Following these incidents, and with the support of Stacey, I made the change to Laura Fergusson Trust, who I'll now refer to as LFT. Since being with LFT, I have felt understood and supported. The biggest challenge I have faced since my accident is not to take giant steps forward. LFT have taught me to slow down and take very small but informed steps towards achieving set goals. I have since learned to refer to these as Buddhist steps. The therapists at Laura Fergusson Trust have allowed me to be able to put it all into perspective. Trust me when there was a time when I had no to little insight. I was unable to drive until 3 years into my recovery. I walked, used buses, taxis, and finally discovered driving Miss Daisy. And they provide consistent assistance for me and my whānau to this day. The team at LFT realised I was nearing the time in my recovery I wanted to do this again. With work and patience, it happened. I was not aware that the police, who I value dearly, reclassified my licence sensibly, and I had to work to improve my sight, my balance, my coordination, manage my fatigue and my cognition to be able to drive again. I took an intensive series of driving lessons from an instructor, resat the driving test before I was allowed to drive with major restrictions in place. I have come to realise that driving is far more complicated with the TBI. It requires immense concentration. Having to process everything that is going on around me is extremely fatiguing. It will be something people will not quite appreciate. A simple thing like managing the car, the in-car temperature to avoid it fogging up, the windscreen, and learning to use the technology the right way in the car is a challenge. Now I've learned to pull the car over safely and set the air to clear the screen. I have a wee bit of advice for people who are working with people who suffer from a TBI. No two TBIs are the same, so learn the person. Assumptions are not effective, nor are generalizations. Take the time to learn about the person and decide on a shared, agreed path forward, and accept there may be variations along the way. Please source and accept the advice of the partners, parents, siblings, carers, colleagues, and even mates as resources to learn more about your client. This damaged person you don't have to repair, but because of the type of injury, for me the intensity of it meant it took until I was listened to and understood. This very simple fact allowed the team to work with me, the individual, to redefine and reshape a new life. Utilize modern tools like Zoom, etc. to interact with those from afar. With little insight, I never really questioned anything at the time. More commonly, I could imagine my standard answer would have been, "That sounds a great idea, let's try it." So in reflection, my first year in Christchurch, my second after the accident, was effectively marred with bad experiences for me, and in turn was destined to fail through a series of harrowing experiences. In comparison, for me, the 2.5 years of experiences and growth with the LFT have been priceless. I have a group of therapists who are on the same page, have a refreshing connection with a team leader who I share my frustrations or successes with. That feeling of emptiness, loneliness, uselessness, weakness is now replaced with a feeling of success, happiness, belonging to a family, to a team, to a vision for my future. Now I think futuristically. I have a vision that I have a story to tell. I'm happy. I love my work. I love my life. I run or work out daily and am successful once again with a lot less. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and let's chat.